All of them. Go ahead.
All right. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Yep.
Folks in the other offices? Yep. All right.
Yes.
So thank you, everyone, and good afternoon. As the chair mentioned, my name is Farhana Hassan Chaudhary, and I am an Associate General Counsel and Chief of Staff of Legal here at HCR, and I will be the acting secretary for this afternoon's meetings. To begin, we note the following. We are joined by Jesse Olsak, representing the Director of the Budget, Chris Curtis, representing the Commissioner of Taxation and Finance, and David Gonzalez, representing the Secretary of State, participating via video conference from the Division of Budgets Conference Center at the Capitol Building, Room 131 in Albany.
Are they there? Oh, they are there. Okay.
We also have B. Gonzalez participating via video conference from HCR's office in Syracuse at 620 West Erie Boulevard, Suite 312. We also have Hope Young-Watkins and Andrew Sanfilippo participating via video conference from HCR's office in Buffalo at Electric Tower, 535 Washington Street, Suite 105.
Here.
Is Hope with you?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, so we'll note that for the record.
Trying to get this seat to go up.
In accordance with the open meetings law, notice of our locations has been made public, and the public has the right to attend and observe the proceedings from these locations. We will now do a roll call for each of the meetings and use those votes as items are considered unless a board member indicates an intent to vote differently or a need to recuse. So this is going to be a long one. Bear with me. To open the meetings of the New York State Housing Finance Agency, the Affordable Housing Corporation, the Housing Trust Fund Corporation, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meetings.
So moved.
They asked whether you were here.
I will now ask for individual votes from the members of the HFA Board, AHC Board, and the HTFC Board. Chairman Weiss,
Aye.
Mr. Olsak, Mr. Curtis,
Aye.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre,
Aye.
Ms. McEwen,
Aye.
and Ms. Young-Watkins.
Aye.
Oh, there she is. And then to open the meetings of the HFA Finance and Program Committee, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
A second? Anyone?
Second.
All right, thank you. To open the meetings of the HFA, AHC, and the HTFC Audit Committees and Governance Committees, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order,
So
consider
moved.
each agenda item, and later adjourn the meetings.
So moved.
All right. For the individual votes of each committee member, we will accept the previous votes. These meetings are officially open. To open the meetings of the State of New York Mortgage Agency, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meeting.
Second.
I will now ask for individual votes from the members of the SONYMA Board. Chairman Weiss,
Aye.
Mr. Olsak,
Aye.
Mr. Freeman,
Aye.
Mr. Ford,
Aye.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Aye.
Mr. Capel,
Aye.
and Ms. Peel.
Aye.
To open the meetings of the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee and the SONYMA Governance Committee, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order.
So moved. Second.
To open the meetings of the SONYMA Finance and Program Committee and the SONYMA Audit Committee, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All right. For the individual votes for each committee member, we will accept the previous votes. These meetings of SONYMA are officially open. To open the meetings of the State of New York Municipal Bond Bank Agency and the Tobacco Settlement Financing Corporation, I ask for motions and second to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meetings.
So moved.
So moved.
All right, I'll take a second from Chairman Weiss. I will now ask for individual votes from each member of the MBBA Board and the TSFC Board. Chairman Weiss,
Aye.
Mr. Olsak,
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Sounds good.
and Mr. Sanfilippo.
Aye.
All right. To open the meetings of the MBBA and TSFC audit committees, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order.
So moved.
So moved. Oh, second.
Thank you. And to open the meetings of the MBBA and TSFC governance committees, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And finally, to open the meetings of the MBBA and TSFC finance and program committees, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order.
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you. For the individual votes of each committee member, we will accept the previous votes. These meetings are all now officially open. I will turn things over.
Okay, thank you. Before I turn things over to the commissioner for her report, just a couple quick comments. First, congrats again to the Knicks, and for those who were able to participate in the parade, thank you all for accommodating the change in the meeting schedule. Tomorrow is Juneteenth. I just want to acknowledge that holiday. It's a national holiday commemorating the end of slavery. It's an important national holiday, and I want to make sure that we acknowledge that. We're going to take a number of these items on today's agenda out of order to accommodate various schedule requests from individual board members. So bear with us as we navigate through this long agenda. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to the commissioner for her report.
Thanks, Steve, and hi, good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody is feeling very post-Knicks celebration. I heard they thought there was going to be 1 million people in Lower Manhattan today, which I can't even imagine. But happy to be with you all. I had some prepared remarks about the budget, but I'm actually going to go a little bit off script and talk about yesterday. And the chairman was lucky enough to be with me, as was Christy, for part of yesterday. But for everyone else, the governor did 3 events yesterday that were housing related. And so I was just sort of going to describe them because I think they're a nice reflection of the work we do. So the first was we were in primarily in central Brooklyn. We were at a groundbreaking for a project that is called Sparrow Square, and it is a redevelopment of what was a former psych center called Kingsborough Psychiatric Center. It was part of the Vital Brooklyn initiative, and the Vital Brooklyn initiative, which is quite old now, but just by way of reminder, was looking at areas in central Brooklyn that were sort of hotspots for bad health indicators. So high diabetes, high, kidney usage, high dialysis usage, low sort of like health outcomes, and a desire to use sort of the hospital systems there to really, and the underutilized land on a lot of the hospital parking lots to both create housing and create a sort of a reinforced health system. So there's a lot of primary care, FQHC, dialysis, walk-ins, things like that being built all in this area targeting health outcomes. So this is one of the buildings. It's the first phase is, which had come through the board, is a 2 new 10-story buildings. It's a $242 million project. It also involves taking down some very old city homeless shelters and building new purpose-built homeless shelters. It's being developed by Douglaston Development and breaking ground. It has on-site services for our OMH clients. It also includes a space for the Brooklyn Ballet, about 9,000 square feet on the ground floor for the ballet. The building is all electric. It's passive house, like many things that come through the board. But it was great to be out there, and it was lots of machinery, moving around to see this like really big psych center come down and soon to be reborn as affordable housing. We then went just about 4 minutes down the road to the Kingsbrook Jewish Medical Center, which is a health safety net hospital in central Brooklyn. And first phase of a project there was being completed. So the governor celebrated its 2 connected 12-story towers, 320 affordable apartments done by a largely minority-controlled development team of Monadnock Development, CB Emmanuel, both names that have come through the board before. And this project will have a grocery store at the ground floor, as well as medical offices used by One Brooklyn Health. So, sort of reinforcing kind of those Vital Brooklyn tenants. And we went from that ribbon cutting to a home. We went to a brownstone, sort of about 10 minutes down the road. And the governor met with a series of electeds, with the Brooklyn DA, and with an organization called the Brooklyn Brownstoners. And these are people that are working towards eliminating and sort of addressing the issue of deed theft, which is a very big issue, especially in Black and brown communities in New York City, where people are losing their homes because of predatory actions by other people coming in, and sort of overnight people oftentimes don't even know that they don't own their home anymore, again, through sort of a series of types of predatory actions. And so the governor has made a series of both investments and also legal changes where she made deed theft an actual crime. So giving the prosecutors additional tools to be able to prosecute those who are doing this. And the announcement yesterday was about additional funding that's going to go to the Brooklyn DA's office and to the AG's office, both for outreach, because really a lot of this is about education, getting out there and awareness and letting people know this is an issue and how to look out for it, but then also funding on the back end to help with both legal defense and also just sort of allow people, ability to have access to dollars to be able to make improvements on their home. Lots of times people are predatory because they know people need money to either pay bills or to make repairs. And so making sure those types of funds are available to homeowners so they don't get duped. Christy was there with us yesterday and helped facilitate. That was a really lovely event. It's, very often that we get to sort of sit in, someone invites us into their beautiful private home, and then to be able to sort of hear the stories and talk about, some of the successes that they've had and the work that continues. So it was really awesome to be with the governor and have her both speak at all three of those events, obviously all very tied to housing, to be able to show off some of the work we did and then be a part of this larger conversation about her efforts towards stemming deed theft. And Steve was there for part of it. It was a really wonderful day. So I just wanted to share that. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Steve.
That's great. Thank you, Ruth Ann. And, it's no small thing that the governor spends her time highlighting the work of these agencies, and in particular, the leadership of our commissioner. So it's really great to hear that and to see it. Okay, let's move on. So item 2, the approval of the prior meetings minutes. There are a number of meeting minutes that are being approved today. So just making sure we're all seeing that. But those will be deemed approved absent any corrections. So Farhana, I'll let you.
Thank you. So with respect to agenda item number 3, I am here today to request that the members and directors of all of the HCR boards and their respective committees authorize board member participation at public meetings using video conferencing technology from a private, unnoticed location under certain extraordinary circumstances.
Excuse me. Can you please speak up a little louder?
Sure. And to adopt written procedures governing such use. As a reminder, during the COVID-19 pandemic, legislation was passed to amend the open meetings law to permit such video conferencing by board members if the board adopted written procedures to govern such use following a public hearing. In July 2022, the board members at the time adopted written procedures for a set period of time, and they have since expired. So in compliance with the public hearing requirement, we held a hearing yesterday on the proposed written procedures, and where we invited the public to comment on the proposed procedures. Members of the public were also invited to submit their views in writing via email. I want to note for the record that other than the HCR staff who were present, there were no other attendees at the public hearing, and we did not receive any comments by email. A copy of the proposed written procedures was provided in the meeting materials before you, but here are a quick few highlights. The written procedures define extraordinary circumstances as a disability, illness, death of an immediate family member, where such term is defined to include a spouse, parent, sibling, child, domestic partner, or individual for whom the member is the designated guardian. It also includes caregiving responsibilities or any other significant or unexpected factor or event which precludes a member or director from physically attending such meeting. Now, with respect to quorum, a member who participates using video conferencing will not count towards quorum, but they may fully participate and vote once a quorum has been met at a physical location open to the public. Members and directors who meet the disability criteria established in the definition in Section 292 of the executive law and are unable to meet in person will count towards quorum. The proposed written procedures also outline how a member can request remote participation and the requirements around meeting conduct, notice, recordings, and minutes. And with that, I will take any questions.
How is disability or illness further defined?
So there's a comprehensive list under Section 292 of the executive law, but my understanding is that the law doesn't require the disability to be certified by a court, the Social Security Administration, or any other agency. Rather, the members must meet the statutory definition, and the public body may require documentation or accept a condition that's regarded by others as an impairment that would preclude them from attending in person.
So it's
I hope that-
determined by the
yeah.
member.
By the member, I see.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments? I think this is an important change, just to give us a little more flexibility.
Sorry, I thought it was just re-upping the rules that were in place during COVID. Are there changes as well?
The only change since what was implemented in 2022 by the board is this additional ability to allow a member with a disability to count towards quorum. So since
Oh, I see.
COVID, they've sort of amended the law a bit further to allow for that.
The reason I ask is I was, you may recall the hullabaloo over the April meeting,
Yeah.
which ultimately ended up getting canceled for lack of quorum, I think.
No, we went forward with
We
it.
did.
Yeah.
But I would have been able to participate under
Exactly.
this definition.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, so it would give board members that flexibility to participate.
Okay, great.
Okay, if there are no other questions, now before HFA, AHC, HTFC, SONYMA, MBBA, TSFC, the respective audit and governance committees, the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee, and the Finance and Program Committees of HFA, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC, is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution is adopted.
Thank you. Item 4, we are going to defer to a future date. So item 5, which is an information item, the Department of Empowerment, Compliance, and Opportunity update. Today, Chino Ancankwo, Vice President, Department of Empowerment, Compliance, and Opportunity, will present this item. Chino,
Thank you.
welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Or good afternoon, rather.
Oh, yes. Good afternoon. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am pleased to provide a brief update on DECO's progress implementing the AHC compliance platform that the board approved in April. While implementation is in its early stages, I'm pleased to report that in just 2 months, we've achieved meaningful progress across several foundational milestones. From the outset, we recognize successful implementation requires more than just deploying technology. Sustainable adoption demands thoughtful planning, ongoing stakeholder engagement, and building confidence amongst those who rely on the system daily. Guided by these principles, DECO developed a multi-phase implementation strategy to ensure successful adoption, long-term usability, and operational effectiveness. In this initial phase that we're undergoing now, our efforts have centered on 3 foundational priorities: stakeholder adoption, platform configuration, and data integrity. Internally, we have conducted demonstrations, working sessions, and collaborative reviews with leadership and program teams across the agency to ensure the platform reflects HCR's operational needs and business processes. These discussions have provided valuable feedback, helping us refine our workflows, reporting requirements, dashboards, and future functionality as configuration efforts continue. The response from program teams have been overwhelmingly positive. We've been very excited about that. Our colleagues have expressed enthusiasm for the platform's ability to streamline compliance activities, enhance visibility into project information, and provide more consistent access to reporting and performance data. Equally important, these engagements have fostered alignment and readiness across the agency as we prepare for broader implementation. Externally, we've also begun engaging our development partners to support a smooth transition to the platform. To advance this effort, DECO established a pilot cohort of 8 development firms for the initial rollout. These partners have participated in platform demonstrations, implementation discussions, and will begin utilizing AHC during the first upcoming quarterly reporting cycle, with submission scheduled for the beginning of July. The pilot cohort offers an important opportunity to allow us to validate reporting workflows, gather user feedback, and identify refinements needed before broader implementation to our larger portfolio. Feedback from the participating partners have been also overwhelmingly positive. We've been excited about that, with firms expressing enthusiasm for the platform's ability to simplify reporting requirements and improve visibility into compliance performance. At the same time, DECO has also made substantial progress on data migration and quality assurance activities. More than 340 of our project files have already been transferred to the AHC platform as part of our phase 1 implementation. Collectively, these projects represent approximately $3 billion in HCR-funded development activity that DECO monitors MWBE and SDVOB participation and compliance. Under the leadership of our DECO's Director of Data Management, who's there, Eva, she raised her hand. She's new. She's like 2 months in. Very excited to have her. And in close partnership with DECO leadership, the team has established a multi-layered validation process to ensure information is accurate, complete, and reliable before and after migration into the platform. This includes project-level reviews, system validation procedures, and ongoing quality control checks to support long-term data integrity. This effort is particularly important because the quality of the data entering the platform will ultimately determine the quality of the reporting, the analytics, and compliance monitoring capabilities it can provide. By investing in these foundation activities now, which has been our focus, we are positioning the agency to benefit from more consistent compliance oversight, stronger reporting capabilities, and improved access to information across our portfolios. While much of the work to date has focused on implementation, the long-term value of this effort extends well beyond the technology. The platform will centralize compliance information, reduce reliance on manual processes, strengthen our data integrity, and position DECO to provide more consistent oversight and reporting as HCR's portfolio continues to grow. Ultimately, these investments advance our core mission of accountability, transparency, and expanded MWBE and SDVOB participation across the agency's programs. We have been very encouraged by the progress that we've made over the past 2 months and remain focused on ensuring implementation through being thoughtful, being precise, and positioning ourselves for long-term success. I look forward to giving you guys further updates in upcoming quarters and just wanted to provide that in the interim. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chino. Questions, comments?
Chino, how's the hard copy data being entered?
You speak up, James.
How's the hard copy data being entered?
Yeah.
So currently, there's a few things that we've done. The hard copy data, we've captured it the way that we have, which is like Excel sheets and PDF sheets. That has then been imported to AHC. Our internal team, our compliance specialist, has reviewed that. Eva has done a secondary quality control, then it goes into the system, and then we do a third quality control in the system. So that's how we've done the initial phases of our migration. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
And procurement, that list has been updated as well?
Yes. Procurement is going to be part of our next phase, so we're going to be starting to integrate procurement in our second phase. We've done a preliminary integration currently just to kind of test out fields, but since the portfolio for procurement looks different than development, we've been trying to prioritize our development because that represents 92% of our operational expenses.
No issues in compatibility so far?
No, it's been great. Yeah, they've been able to really customize the system and configure it. Eva works with them every day to make sure that it's configured the way that we want and based on the feedback that we've gotten from all of our internal partners within the agency.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's been really exciting. We're just so happy that we have this and truly grateful for your approval of us utilizing this tool in the system.
Thanks, Gina.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you mentioned, just in ending, you mentioned the first 3 months.
Yeah.
What took place in those first 3 months?
Well, the 2 months.
In terms of the year that we're supposed to be looking at this point.
Sure. So board approved it in April. Very excited about that. So we've been like, what, 8 weeks? We're about like 8 weeks in. So we've been focused on building relationships, right? So our internal teams, we've met with F&D and all the leaderships within F&D in order to kind of ensure that they understand what the portfolio, what the platform looks like, how they'll utilize it. We got feedback on everything about like simple things like cost analysis and how we want workflows to shift. Maybe the underwriters are entering it or someone else is entering it. So we're really kind of like looking collaboratively. Externally, we focused on building, we've had conversations with 8 of our key development partners. Those were recommended either by our external, by program leaders, or we've identified them and we met with them so then we can show them what the tool actually looks like, allowing them to see, you know, to identify any concerns that they've had. They've been really excited. They're like ready to hop into it. They're saying that it will help their workflow, make it much easier. All great news that we want to hear. And then we've been focusing on importing our data, cleaning our data, making sure that it's as we want it to look like in the system. So that's been the focus of the past 2 months. And then the pilot group, first week of July, will start inputting their quarterly reporting, their financial data in the system as a just test.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
everyone.
Thank you so much.
Okay, there was no vote on that item. It was just for information. Item 6, annual independent audit for the fiscal year ending March 31, 2026. And for this item, Stacy Mickle, our treasurer, will introduce Jeremy Smith, an audit principal with Lumsden and McCormick CPA. So welcome you.
I think they're.
Oh, they're online.
They're
Sorry.
online.
Okay.
We're here in Albany. Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce Jeremy Smith with our auditors, Lumsden and McCormick, who will present the findings from this year's financial statements audit for the trust fund.
Okay, thank you, Stacy. There's a brief PowerPoint. I'm going to only skip over a few slides. Just keep this brief. If you go to slide 1, these are the various reports that we sent as part of the whole audit process. The main one is a financial statement audit. Basically, that report states that your job is to ensure the financial statements are in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Our job as auditors is to express an opinion. We issued a clean, unmodified opinion, the best opinion we can issue, so good job. The only thing I want to point out there is an emphasis of matter paragraph related to HUD audits. It's been there for years. The good news is we're down to 1 outstanding HUD audit. It is questioned about $460 million. Previous years, we had 7 outstanding HUD audits at a tune about $750 million. So we're almost there. And then I'm going to just go right to page 4 and just talk about some of the significant changes here. Most of these transactions you kind of can look through are just due to timing. The big one you see, the cash increase about $102 million, and that's due to operations. Overall, our net position increased $107 million. So good to see it in cash. So then if you go to slide 5, we'll kind of explain where that $107 million came from. And it's really down to our non-operating. Our state grants revenue exceeded expenses by about $68 million. So that's 68 out of that 107. That's just due to new state initiatives that we received some funds for, haven't quite dispersed out to the awardees and agencies yet. And then once again, $20 million additionally just from investments and income. So right there, that's about 88 of the 96 and 88 out of the 107. So good job overall, once again, from Stacy and the staff. No audit adjustments or anything, no issues. Just great job from them. So that's all I had. There's additional information on there on the next couple slides, just as some of the significant grants, but it's just for informational purposes.
Great. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Stacy. Questions?
I'll start getting tossed in the mouth.
Hannah?
I'd just like to say, like, it's in here, you see how many programs and that they interact with and administer and are part of, and it's just very impressive. I mean, if you look at going through this detail of the grants and the programs that they administer, how comprehensive and how many different aspects they touch. So it's really great.
Thanks, James. Hannah?
All right, now before the HTFC Board and the HTFC Audit Committee are resolutions transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolutions are adopted.
Thank you. Item 7, annual independent audit for the fiscal year ending March 31, 2026. And for this item, Sonia Kinkle, Vice President and Controller, will introduce our auditors, Clifton, Larson, Allen, for their presentation.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We had the pleasure of working again, our second engagement with Clifton, Larson, and Allen. This is Justin, and he's just going to give a brief overview of the AHC audit.
Excuse me.
You want to use the microphone?
Oh, my
Yeah.
okay.
It's behind the computer there.
Yep.
Should we?
Oh, there's also a mic right there.
Yep,
Okay.
I'm
No, go
looking
ahead.
at a microphone right there.
Oh, you want me to?
Steve, am I all set?
Yep, that's why I spoke to you ahead of
So
time.
should we start again?
Okay, I didn't know if you had officially closed the meeting.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon. Justin Measley is here to talk about the AHC audit. And as I said, we had a warm up with the January audit, so this was pretty quick and easy, but I'll let him tell you more about it.
Absolutely. Thank you all very much for having me. As mentioned, my name is Justin Measley. I'm a principal with CLA of Clifton Larson Allen. I'm here to present the draft audit results of Affordable Housing Corporation, or AHC, for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2026. A very brief presentation. I'll just run through really quickly, but of course, if there's any questions throughout, please don't hesitate to ask those. So moving on to the next slide, covers really our engagement scope. So we issued 2 different reports for AHC. The first is the independent auditors report. That's really the report on the financial statements themselves. We do a risk-based approach audit, so it is not an absolute opinion, but the goal there is to be able to issue an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion we can offer, and we are issuing an unmodified opinion. Essentially, what that states is that based on the procedures that we perform, the financial statements are free from material misstatement. As I mentioned, that's the best opinion we can offer, also known as a clean opinion, so that users can rely on those financial statements. The second report is the report on internal control over financial reporting in accordance with government auditing standards. Essentially, the goal there again is to be able to issue an unmodified opinion, no material weaknesses and no significant deficiencies in internal control over financial reporting. We gain an understanding of what controls are in place. We walk through those controls. If we have any material audit adjustments or audit adjustments, we're required to evaluate those. We did not have any audit adjustments during the audit process, and as a result, we did not have any modifications to that report. On this slide, you'll also see that we have a required governance communications letter. I'm just going over the highlights of that letter during this presentation. We can move into the next slide. And on this slide, just really want to highlight what I had already mentioned with respect to the audit opinions. Our financial statement audit opinion is unmodified, and then also with respect to the internal controls of our financial reporting, unmodified, no exceptions there. And you can move into the next slide. It covers the required governance communications. So overall, I mentioned our responsibility. The financial statements are the responsibility of management. Our responsibility is to design an audit so that we can issue an opinion that is supported by those procedures that we perform. We did not have any changes in our scope during the audit process. GASB is a standard setter for the agency, and as such, the agency is required to implement any current year GASB standards. In the current year, there was one GASB standard that was required to be implemented, GASB 102, related to disclosures of risk concentrations. There was no matters that were required to be disclosed in the current year, but just want to highlight that it was required to be implemented in the current year, and it will be implemented moving forward, so it will be required to be evaluated on an annual basis. We did not have any difficulties during the audit. To our knowledge, management did not consult with other accounting firms. We are required to get comfortable with any estimates that do exist. There were no significant estimates for AHC that we were required to evaluate. We did not have any audit adjustments, and we did not have any uncorrected misstatements, meaning there were no issues identified during the audit process that we passed on adjusting that we were brought to management's attention. And on the next slide, we just kind of end it with any questions or feedback you may have.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it, Justin. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
In terms of the presentation that you just made, can you provide any, I guess, I don't want to say comparison, but just relevance to prior reports that have been done, like what you're doing now? Are we seeing improvement? Are we seeing areas where improvement could be made? I was trying to get a sense of that from.
With respect to like internal controls and financial reporting, I would say AHC, as Sonia mentioned, was a very effective and efficient audit, a very easy process. I would say the activity or the limited activity, no unusual transactions, a lot of, I would say, ordinary course of business for AHC. So no current year management improvements that we would recommend, no best practices that we identified.
No improvements?
Not in the current year, nothing that we identified. But again, the point of our audit was not an operational audit. We solely focused on the numbers. So we didn't do any sort of assessment over operations, but we did gain an understanding of internal controls over financial reporting.
Okay, the reason I was saying no audits, of course, is that, no improvement rather, is that, my experience is just that there's always room for improvement, right? Even when it's, quote, perfect, something better could be done. But you're saying that just wasn't in your area of focus?
Not during this audit. I would say when we did the agency-wide audit for the October 31st, that's when we had a focus on IT controls, et cetera, where we did have some best practices that were recommended at that point, but nothing to repeat for AHC.
This is just for AHC.
Excuse me?
This is just for AHC.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, before the AHC Board and the AHC Audit Committee are resolutions transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Steve,
The motion is carried and the resolutions are adopted.
I think it's important to note that the credit really goes to the staff here, the agency staff that allowed them to produce it.
Yeah, good point. Thanks for that, Dave. Okay, item 8, the annual procurement report for fiscal year ending March 31, 2026. Marlene Pons, Vice President, Contracts and Administration, will present this item. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I will provide a brief overview of the HTFC annual procurement report for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2026. This report covers procurement activity conducted by HTFC during the fiscal year, including competitive and non-competitive procurements, preferred source purchases, OGS centralized contracts, and all state-funded, federal-funded, and mixed-funded procurements. There is nothing out of the ordinary to report regarding procurement activity or compliance. However, I would like to highlight our MWBE participation performance for the year. HTFC overall MWBE participation goal is 35%, with the agency exceeding the state mandated 30% goal. This reflects strong outcomes across both state-funded and mixed-funded procurements. HTFC also continues to demonstrate a more balanced distribution between minority-owned business enterprise and women-owned business enterprise participation. These results underscore the agency's ongoing commitment to providing a meaningful contracting opportunities to certified MWBE firms and advancing diversity and inclusion across all procurement activities. That concludes the summary of the HTFC FY26 annual procurement report.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, just, I've asked this question in multiple meetings, and obviously you're still trying to get a very quick, could you say, there's minority business, and then there's women-owned business?
Correct.
Okay, so a Black woman appears where? In which of those two categories?
Oh, minority.
That's minority.
Own business.
Yeah, sure. But you said you had a Black category and you had a women's category.
Right. So do you want to know the percentage for each?
No, I want to know where Black woman XYZ, which category does she fall into? She can't be in both, right? Or can she be in both?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that makes your numbers a little different then, does it?
We could take a look at that for future.
Well, I mean,
Based.
yeah, I guess you could in the future. I don't spend a lot of time on any of these items, but it's just, okay, so as this is your presentation is so in your minority business categories, you have black minority participants.
Yeah.
And then there's another category with female or women minority participants, right? Okay, so a black woman fits in which category? Now you're saying she's in the women's category, so she's not in the black category, she's in the black category, not in the women's category. Where, or how does that work?
So there's a few things to kind of keep in mind. So when an MBE, an MWBE, sorry, like let's just say like I open my own business, I would be considered an MWBE, but in quite a few categories. When I certify, I first have to determine which category do I want to be, an M or W. And then, but ESD also, as we know, also can, when they're looking at their full numbers, they're saying that this is like their MWBE category. That's a new breakout that they're having. It's not in any of the current reporting, but it's something that they're planning to do in their future reporting. I know that you've asked about like when we have someone who's like me, if I have my own business and we procured my services, where would I fit in our procurement portfolio? As an agency, we can select that. We've historically selected that in the M category, just based on feedback from the board. We do have the flexibility of putting that in the W category, depending on what the board wants to see. We do have that flexibility. Agencies have the right to determine, but there's no duplicity. So if you are in the M category, you are not in the W when we're reporting out on this report that Melanie is sending out. And we're definitely open to, if we want it to be recategorized in another way, we can definitely make sure that.
Well, my only point is you can only be in one category at a time, right?
Only one.
Okay, so in this mythological black woman that we're talking about right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now she's in the, decides I'm going to go in the minority category, okay? A woman from Malaysian background.
Okay.
She makes the same decision.
Yep.
Okay, it kind of goes down the list
Yep.
until all that's left is white women who cannot be in the minority category as a matter of course,
Correct.
but they're in the W category.
Correct.
Is that the intent of this kind of categorization? Excuse me.
I think for the, for Article 15, I don't think it's necessarily the intent. I think that it's become the option. I think ISD is strategically also, just based on the conversations that Mr. Freeman and I have had with ESD, for example, like I know that they're trying to also categorize like myself and a Malaysian business owner in the same category. They're really trying to look more deliberately at all the categories in order to understand it. Currently, their option is in the M category or in the W category, and they're also exploring, based on conversations, having a subcategory as well in order to understand that differentiated pool as well.
Right. One of the things in the conversations that we've been having is over like the last year and a half, categorizing by minority. Everyone was categorized in one particular group. And then through the agency, they split it in half. 15% could be MWBE, 15% for MBE to make up the full 30%. So what they were doing was they were moving numbers sometimes if they were short in one particular category over another one. So now what we've actually done is split all of that out. So now, as what you were saying, white women who were considered in the minority category, they're completely separated out of that now. They're in a category of minority, but they're not included with the overall number anymore in order to skew the numbers. Because one of the things that the agency across the state wasn't doing is they didn't look at the influence of non-MWBEs that had over MWBEs, meaning that MWBE, who was a minority, who may not be of an ethnic group, may have been influenced by somebody else. So there was no compliance and no oversight in that before. Now there is oversight in a lot of those areas. So now we're actually breaking it down in every single category of who's actually who where they are, what kind of business they're doing, how much money they're making, where they are categorized as far as demographics in the state, everything. So we're looking at every percentage now and every category now of who's doing business. And then in the reports that were brought in before, over the course of the last 6 years, we're looking at every single year the investment that's being made in MBEs and MWBEs to make sure that they're actually bringing in new business to be added to the agency to work with.
James, are you saying, when you say we, are you saying ESD is doing that, or you're being very specific to HCR?
On both categories, all the way around. Even on a county level, certain categories and things that they were participating in, like Suffolk County was doing something different than the state was doing. Nassau County had a different criteria that they were working with. Now ESD, Suffolk County, HCR, everyone's looking at the exact same thing. The only ones that didn't want to participate was Nassau County, because they make their money doing this, so they wanted to be able to set their own standards.
Okay, I'm not totally sure, but I get the nuance there. I mean, we certainly are following, ESD's directives because they obviously manage this for the state. And I don't think we are sort of like reclassifying people in any sort of inconsistent way from how ESD would have us do it. I don't know, Chino and Malini, if you would say otherwise, but I think, no, we're just, we for our part are following sort of the letter of ESD's direction on if someone is a white woman, they go in the woman category. And I believe, Malini, you started by saying, and if someone is a Black female, they go in the minority category, not the women category. And I think our stuff has been fairly clear and consistent there.
Forgive me, but when one is certified by ESD,
Yes.
are they certified to a specific criteria?
They have to say which one will be
So
their
they're
first.
either Women or they're
No,
minority?
they're not
or-
both.
What's
But see,
that?
that's the
They're
thing.
not both.
They weren't before. That was the thing, the issue, because in them making up the 30%, they were dividing it. So if you had one that had 14% and the other one had 3%, they were shifting numbers in some cases to move people over into the other category to boost that number up. So now
Who's
it's
the they?
all
Sorry, who's
broken
the they you're
ESD.
talking about? Okay,
well,
not us.
through the
That's
agency
someone else.
itself. Well,
Not us.
ESD or whoever was reporting that information prior. Because remember when we had Jason in here, I brought out the 5 years of financial statements. That information showed each individual breakdown. But when we were getting information from DECO prior, we were getting a breakout of who was actually from procurement of the 30%.
Right, we
And
set
then
that,
those
right,
numbers
we set within the, right, we set within the 30, depending on what we're doing, the targets for, within the 30%. That is an agency thing, right? And I think Chino and Malini.
Absolutely. Yes.
To clarify, is this all of HCR, this report, or just it's HFA or HTFC?
Correct.
Yeah, just HFC.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jesse.
Thank you.
Which it seemed to me to be a pretty simple math. If ESD certifies somebody as minority, then that's where they're counted, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't get where the confusion is.
Well, the confusion in the beginning was a large portion of it when you look at their reports. They were adding in when they said we did an outstanding job in minority business and increasing it. They were also adding in business for white women, adding it in as a minority business, which was outpacing all the other minority groups by more than 75%. So now with that separated out, now you're actually looking at the 25% that actually makes up the other groups and actually seeing, are you really improving that group as far as your investment and your outreach? Because it wasn't before.
But it is now.
It is now.
Okay, good. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the main thing.
Anything else? Okay, Farhana?
Okay, now before the HTFC board is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
The motion is carried and the resolution is adopted.
Great, thank you. All right, next, we're going to do all of the consent items at the same time. So items 9 through 16, items 25 through 27, and items 38 through 44. Farhana?
Yep. Now before the HFA, HTFC, AHC, and SONYMA boards and their respective audit and governance committees are resolutions transmitted in connection with their respective consent items for numbers 9 through 16, 25 through 27, and 38 through 44. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolutions are adopted.
Great, thank you. Next, item 17, Second Amendment and Restatement, Credit Support Agreement between SONYMA and the New York Convention Center Development Corporation. And Michael Friedman, Senior Vice President, Mortgage Insurance Fund, will present this item and the next 4 items. Michael?
Good afternoon. The Convention Center Development Corporation is refunding its senior lien bonds to achieve debt service savings. The MIF's risk is not increasing, as this is a straight refunding. The principal amount of the senior lien bonds is not being increased, and the maturity date of the bonds are not being extended. SONYMA will not be paid a fee in connection with the refunding. The debt service on the bonds is paid from a hotel unit fee of $1.50 per night per occupied room. To date, there have been no claims under the existing credit support agreement. During the COVID epidemic, hotel unit fee revenue declined to 72%, 45%, and 96% of debt service in 2020, 2021, and 2022, respectively. The CCD revenue account, with 80% of maximum annual debt service, in conjunction with the reduced hotel unit fee revenue, was adequate to pay debt service during those 3 years. The debt service account with 100% of maximum annual debt service was not utilized to pay debt service. Both the revenue account and the debt service account, with a combined 180% of MADs, come before MIF's obligations to pay up to 1/3 of debt service in the credit support agreement. Pursuant to the second amended and restated credit support agreement, the MIF is required to maintain a credit support insurance account of at least $25 million. As of March 31, 2026, the MIF had credit support account reserves with a book value of $46 million. Included in the director's material is a Wells Fargo projection showing that hotel unit fee revenue is adequate to pay debt service without draws on the credit support agreement. There's also Moody's rating of the refunding bonds. And the top of page 2, Moody's states the credit support agreement with SONYMA will not be needed to pay debt service. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
How do the hotel unit fees flow to the New York Convention Center Development Corporation?
They flow to ESD.
Ah, okay, thank you. Do the individual hotels send money to ESD?
Yes.
All hotels in the city?
Yes.
Thank you.
And registered Airbnbs.
Which is
Okay.
It should actually lower your exposure, right? Because they're refunding the debt, existing debt service. The one thing that's interesting is that Moody says debt service coverage is above 130, but it only is above 130 in the first year. It doesn't get above basically 120 until. It's interesting that they say that, but it's not my coverage requirement issue.
Anything else?
What percentage above the minimum is the standard to keep in reserve.
That we keep in reserve?
Yes.
We're just required to have 25 million.
Just flat 25 million?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you reinsure that? No.
Do not.
And right now it's at like 45?
46, yeah. We started with 25. When they did a refunding 10 years ago, we added another 8.
Okay.
And since then, it's grown to about 46.
Okay. So a portion of that 20 is going to be taken off the top and moved?
It's just,
Leave it
our
on the state
intention is to just leave it there for the next 20 years.
Okay.
And then we get it back.
All right.
The overage is a function of excess hotel fees?
No, it's earnings on the money that we deposited 25 million 20 years ago.
I see, okay.
It grew to 30 some odd. 10 years ago, we added another 8, and since then it's grown to 46.
Interest on our account.
Anything else?
Okay, now before the SONYMA board is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution is adopted.
Thank you. Item 18, release of reserves from the project pool insurance account of the mortgage insurance fund. Mike?
We do this every year. Article 11, Part M of the 26-27 budget bill directs the agency's board of directors to take certain action with respect to the reserves in the project pool insurance account. Part M requires the directors to authorize the total transfer of $126,933,000 to HTFC and HHAC. First, from the special account in an amount not to exceed the excess balance as of 3/31/26, and then from the project pool insurance account. The excess balance in the special account as of 3/31/26 was $52,422,643. We're required to transfer a total of $126,933,000. So the amount by which it exceeds the excess balance is $74,510,357. So the directors are hereby requested to authorize the release of $74,510,357 from the project pool insurance account. And this represents less than 3% of our insurance reserves of $2,570,564,000.
Where does the HHAC Corporation live?
Oh, in Albany.
I'm sorry, within which,
Oh, which agents? I think it's part of HF. I don't know, actually.
It's part of OTDA.
oh, okay.
It's part of
Thank you.
OTDA.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ruth. Questions? Farhana?
Okay, now before the SONYMA board is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution is adopted.
Okay, before we continue, I just want to make sure we're okay on quorum if Hope has to leave on the trust fund items.
Yes, we should have the required 6 if everyone else is still here.
Okay, great. Item 19, Carnes McKinney Apartments, 750 Vale Street, City of New York, Bronx County. Mike.
So this comprises insurance of a $2,624,000 CPC loan, which will be sold to the Methodist Pension Fund with 75% insurance. And we can only insure 100% of a loan if it's sold to a public employee pension fund. And the project involves the rehab of a low-income Mitchell-Lama project with 111 units. And virtually all of the units, half of the units are either 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom. Virtually all of them are at 60% of AMI. The insured loan amount is $23,640 per unit, which equals 13% of the project's total development cost of $178,000 per unit. And the project would break even with a 9% pro forma vacancy loss or a 5% increase in operating expenses.
Thanks, Mike. Questions?
Okay. Now before the Sunny Mae Mortgage Insurance Committee is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution is adopted.
Thank you. Item 20, 1319 through 1325 Southern Boulevard, Bronx, Bronx County.
This comprises insurance, 75% insurance of a $4,560,000 CPC loan for the construction of 37 low-income units and 5,800 square feet of commercial space. The developers, Hosu and Orbeto Velasquez, are MWBE developers.
Questions? Farhana?
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
The insured loan amount is $147,000 per unit, which equals 22% of the project's total development cost of $680,000 per unit.
Sorry, Mike, I thought you were done.
No.
Okay. Farhana?
Okay. Now before the Sunny Mae Mortgage Insurance Committee is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution is adopted.
Thank you. Item 21, 80 Washington Avenue, City of Kingston, Ulster County.
This comprises, once again, 75% insurance of a $4,020,000 CPC loan for the historic readaptation of a former assisted nursing facility into 39 apartments, all of which are affordable at 90% of the AMI. This is a heavily subsidized project. In addition to the $4 million CPC loan, there's a $4,875,000 HCR small building participation loan program loan, and there's $2.4 million in historic tax credits. The insured loan amount is $110,000 per unit, which equals 29% of the project's total development cost of $357,700 per unit.
Thank you.
Okay.
Questions? Farhana?
Now before the Sunny Mae Mortgage Insurance Committee is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Yeah, and note for the record that Chairman Weiss has recused.
Thank you. Item 22, Parkside Commons Phase 1, City of Syracuse, Onondaga County. And for this item, Russell Ubley, Saley Torrero, and Michael Friedman will present the item.
I'll take this one.
Or Russell will handle it as the Jalen Brunson of. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hi,
Check,
Tom.
check, check. Parkside. First, before we begin, I just want to note there's a correction on the award amount for the Clean Energy Initiative, the CEI award for the project. Last minute page change, I think, that everyone received, but it's supposed to be 4.3 million, not 3.225 million. Just want to make sure that that was corrected.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, so Parkside Commons, presently it's 393 units of affordable housing existing in 2 adjacent complexes located in the east end of Syracuse, about 2 miles from downtown Syracuse and about 1 mile from Syracuse University. The west side complex has 6 buildings, 5 stories each, with 200 units. And the east side complex has 4 buildings. These are 3-story townhouse style complexes with 193 units. The project was first built in 1950. It was incorporated into the Mitchell-Lama program with HUD Section 8 rental assistance support. The project fell into disrepair over the years, some individual periods of slight renovations here and there. Generally and presently, The project is in fairly poor overall condition, has had a troubled history recently with crime and drug gang presence. Although I'm happy to report that conditions have improved greatly in recent months since the new owner took over, which is BFC, the developer, and their joint venture partner, SAA-EVI. They acquired the property in 2024. They've invested significant resources in security and stabilization, and thankfully the gang element has been cleared out. The project was acquired from Related Affordable 2 years ago by BFC, as I mentioned. They have put together a comprehensive proposal for the full renovation of the project and the redevelopment of the site with feedback and encouragement from the tenants and from us as well. So I'm here to present what we believe will be a transformative and positive outcome for this troubled project. The owner plans to renovate the existing buildings on the west side campus, as well as construct 2 new buildings on the east side campus. So they're going to demolish the east side portion, which is in much worse condition than the west side. The west side will be able to be renovated through some rehab through the individual units. The revitalized development will contain all 393 units, so no units will be lost as a result of the renovations and new construction. And all of the new units, including the old units, will be receiving HUD Section 8 project-based rental assistance. Last week, HUD approved the plan under their markup to market program, which is really good news because we were waiting for that in order for us to proceed towards financing closing, which we expect to do next month. The west side building is in better shape, as I mentioned, than the east side, so that'll undergo a substantial rehabilitation. Tenants there will be temporarily relocated, we call it checkerboarding, on site as the work is done in their units, and then they'll return to their renovated units. On the east side, tenants will remain in the buildings while the new construction buildings are built nearby. The developer acquired parcels right adjacent to the east side complex where they'll be building the 2 new construction buildings, and then those tenants will be moved into those buildings once they're completed. The construction period is expected to take about 24 months in total. We worked with BFC and the city of Syracuse to help them acquire that property nearby for the development of the new buildings. There are critical repair dollars that are built into the budget, so if there's any repairs that need to be done on the east side while the new buildings are being built, there'll be financing available for that as well. And again, as mentioned, the finished project will represent 200 fully renovated units and new construction of 193 units, which is a gain for needed affordable housing in Syracuse. Energy efficiency measures: the new buildings will be all electric per the agency's sustainability guidelines. They'll meet the Enterprise Green Community certification for the project. The scope is detailed further in the memo, and the rehabilitation portion will be which is the project's already all electric. It'll be further enhanced to meet a minimum 20% reduction in energy usage. The new buildings will also feature parking garages on the basement levels designed to enhance security. The current east side campus has ground level parking outside of the buildings, which has been a security concern over the years and has led to some of the previous difficulties that the project has had. So having these stabilized garages in the basements of the buildings will help that enhance the security around the property. About the owner and the developer, BFC, they've had a long-standing portfolio of affordable housing development with us from Staten Island to Buffalo. Their willingness to acquire this troubled asset and work with us to comprehensively transform the project into a safe and stable property is further evidence of that successful partnership. BFC is partnering with SAA-EVI, that's Stewart Alexander Associates and Ernst Valerie Investment. They're a community-focused developer who've done a lot of work with the agency as well, particularly in Buffalo. They are also a certified New York State minority-owned business. So they're partnering with BFC to co-develop Parkside. Goldman Sachs will be providing credit enhancement on the bonds during construction. They're also providing a participation loan that'll help fund construction financing. This is a less expensive option for the project than having to put in additional construction bonds. Saves us a bit on our subsidy as well. And lastly, the project will continue to meet its MWBE and SDVOB goals, which totals about 34% of the total HCR permanent financing to the project, which includes HFA bonds, subsidy, and financing in addition to the other equity that's coming into the project. So, thank you.
Thanks, Russell. Questions?
Could I,
If
yes,
I could-
oh, go ahead, please.
No, go.
Oh, I was just curious about the acquisition transaction. Is there only one transaction or multiple transactions within that use category? And Who did they buy the property from?
So Related Affordable was the previous owner. So BFC acquired it in 2024 from them. There's one acquisition cost, which includes some bridge loan money that they had to put into the project to acquire it, and some assumable loans that are going to be reassumed into the project as subordinate financing.
But there's only one parcel, or like one transaction, or were there multiple parcels?
It's multiple parcels. It's one transaction, but the acquisition includes multiple parcels. The existing parcels plus the two new ones that are being acquired for the new development.
From somebody else?
Right, from the city.
Through the land bank?
Yeah.
So essentially that entire acquisition fee is going to the previous owner?
No, it's going to pay off additional debt. It's paying off the debt that was when BFC acquired it 2 years ago. They took out debt to acquire it, so that acquisition cost is paying off that existing bridge debt.
So did related companies make a lot of money selling a distressed property?
Thank you.
Yeah, they did, and
No, they didn't.
we're not too happy about that. I mean,
hold on a
there's
second.
existing debt that was assumed by the property. They made some money off the deal, but it wasn't all in their
didn't.
pockets.
I
Yeah.
saw the closing statement. They had put in a ton of money over the years, and they were reimbursing themselves for borrowed funds. So you got to look at the closing statement.
Yeah.
Before
most of it's assumable debt.
Understood.
But yeah,
before
I mean, we can debate the value of the property on the appraisal, but the debt is the debt.
Yeah, you should look at the closing statement.
Yeah.
I have one question. What's going to happen to the existing buildings on the east side once they're no longer occupied?
So they're going to demo the buildings once the new buildings are up and running. There may be future plans for affordable housing development there, since that land will now be available. Yeah.
I think B has a question.
Sorry, B.
Just a comment. This project is getting a lot of attention in Syracuse, made the front page of the paper this morning. Assemblymember Hunter, this is her neighborhood. She's very focused on this project. I just thought I'd make you aware. And fun fact is, I lived in these buildings when I was 5 or 6 years old and attended preschool in them. So it's been heartbreaking to watch what's happened in the community. And just maybe 10 days ago, Assemblymember Hunter and I and a member of the Onondaga County Legislature were talking about the other services that need to come into this neighborhood to kind of address the long-standing issues around gang violence and lack of resources and services for youth. So important big project in Syracuse, and I just wanted to let you know.
Thanks, B. James.
How much of the building is vacant versus occupancy?
Currently, what do we have? I think it's about 75 to 80% occupied right now.
75 to 80%?
Occupied, yeah.
And how much are in checkerboarding it? How much are they going to be moving these residents around as they do the renovations and new construction?
So like I said, the east side campus, they're going to be remaining in their units while the new buildings are being built, and then they'll relocate fully to those new buildings. On the west side, it'll be the checkerboarding, where they'll be over a 24-month period. Each unit will be renovated, and they'll just kind of move. They do it in like there's 6 buildings, so they're probably going to do it in like each side of the building first, and then they'll move the tenants into the other side and kind of do it that way. Whatever's the most efficient way. I'm not sure exactly how long each tenant will be out of their unit, but it's over a 24-month period for the entire buildings.
So they're going to put them back in the unit once they're renovated?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, instead of relocating them. Okay.
Yeah.
D, I got a question for you. In that meeting, are they using a city planning model or are they using land use models? Can't hear you.
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
I can't answer that question specifically because we were at an event and we just got talking about Parkside, right? So I can follow up and get some more information for you, not a problem.
Please.
Okay.
So, the insured loan amount is $97,200 per unit, which equals 14% of the project's total development cost of $679,000 per unit. And the project will break even with a 10% pro forma vacancy loss or a 9% increase in operating expenses.
I will note for the record that Chairman Weiss is recusing from this item. Now, before the HFA, HTFC, and SONYMA boards, in addition to the HFA Program and Finance Committee and the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee, are resolutions transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolutions are adopted.
Thank you. Next item, 23, the Green, City of Newburgh, Orange County. And Saley Terrero is joining the group. Good afternoon.
Hi. Today I'll be presenting The Green, a new construction mixed-use development located in the city of Newburgh, Orange County. The Green will transform a long vacant, underutilized site which was awarded to the Kearney Group in 2023 through a competitive RFP process led by the city of Newburgh. The project will include 122 residential units and 4 commercial spaces across 2 newly constructed buildings. It will serve households earning between 40 and 100% of AMI, providing a range of affordable and workforce housing opportunities while supporting neighborhood revitalization. Residents will be able to walk easily to the Newburgh's waterfront, restaurants, shops, and the Newburgh Beacon Ferry, and major transportation hubs. The development team is also working with Orange County to incorporate a future bus stop at the site. The project was designed to fit in with surrounding neighborhood. The building on Montgomery Street takes inspiration from historic townhomes, while the Smith Street building is designed to look like and feel like a collection of smaller buildings rather than a single large development. Between the 2 buildings, a central greenway will provide an open space with seating areas, a playground, and places for gathering. This space will be open to both residents and the broader community. Kearney Realty Development Group is an experienced affordable housing developer with more than 2,400 units under management statewide, and they will serve as the developer and property manager. Rubco will support community outreach and resident services, and Turn Construction, who has experience in affordable housing and brownfield redevelopment projects, will serve as a general contractor. The financing plan combines tax-exempt bonds, federal and state low-income housing tax credit equity, brownfield tax credits, HFA subsidy, local funding sources, and borrow equity, reflecting a strong public and private investment in the project. In conclusion, The Green will transform a long vacant property into a vibrant mixed income community that expands opportunities, supports local businesses, and contributes to the ongoing revitalization of the city of Newburgh. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike?
I have nothing.
Oh, nothing on this? Okay.
Just want to note how good this project is for the city of Newburgh. There was an article in the New York Times this week about some other development that's going in hotels and high-end facilities. I'll just say for the record that we also need jobs in Newburgh. I know that's not this agency's purview, but Newburgh has long suffered from just a lack of jobs and infrastructure for the residents that live there. And a lot of, having these people walk to the waterfront to expensive restaurants is not part of what makes this an important project. If they had jobs that they could go to, the transportation is important. I just want to make the comment because I've been observing Newburgh for 35 years and so much of it has not changed at all. And we add these wonderful housing units and people that live there that are poor move into much better housing, which is a great outcome. But they're still on Section 8 and they still don't have jobs. And so when the governor is focused on things like this, when she goes to Newburgh, I think we really need to figure out how to get jobs and economic development to get there too. Because we've invested a lot of money in housing in Newburgh. So thank you. It's a great project. And Ken Carney's a terrific developer. So good hands.
Thanks, Sadie. Anything else?
I had a general question. Where does the word workforce housing come from? Because in the state of New York, we're all workforce housing because there's no such thing as an allodial title in the state of New York. So we all don't own our own homes. So where does that word come from? To me, it's a dirty word.
I think it is a way to disguise low income.
Exactly.
That's all it is. It's just another way to get communities to embrace more housing, because it's, if you say it's for the workforce, they feel like it's for them, it's for their children, it's for their neighbors, but it's not for those low-income people that might move here from other
I
places.
thought there was an actual definition, though, that was.
There is,
for
it's
the-
probably 80 to 130% of AMI or something like that, but really, there's a lot of language to try and, if we could go back in time, we'd have been better served not to name the low-income housing tax credit program the low-income housing tax credit program. So there is a definition. It is supposed to be not for the people that are heavily subsidized and what we call big A affordable. It's really supposed to be for that missing middle that can't qualify to live in a subsidized unit because they make too much money, but they can't live in the market rate housing that routinely gets delivered because it's too expensive. And so it's supposed to be that missing middle.
All right, because even with me, across the street from me, they built a house. The house is 1.2 million. It's one of the most expensive houses in the area because it's on like 2 acres of land. But there is no other house in the area that's 1.2 million. So the valuations on those houses have gone up more than 90% over the last 3 years. There's a kid who lives next door to me. He's 26 years old. He pays, and he's a Marine. Now he's in the reserves. He pays $4,000 a month on his mortgage. And it's like he's doing the Marine Corps, and he's working, and he's trying to rent to try and make up the difference of it because the valuations have gone through the roof on him. So the kids can't afford to live there anymore.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's housing crisis, and all you hear about is the affordable housing crisis. Although if you go back to 1937, there was an affordability crisis then too. So it's just changed over time. Right now, we're not producing enough housing. The lack of supply, we're way behind in supply. We were behind before COVID. COVID exacerbated the problem. Unless we're producing more and more units, for the units that are there, the house next door to me just sold for $1.2 million. They bought their house 10 years ago for $350,000. So it's just a lack of supply keeps driving the prices way up, which is why what we do here is so important, because we're preserving what we've got and we're adding to the supply. So, but we need it across the spectrum, no doubt.
Then how do we go from, like I was asking B, how do we go from land use plans, which is what is most popular now, to going back to more city planning models, which you would plan out a neighborhood for 10 years. You got your school, you got your business, you got your store, you got your dry cleaners and everything else. How do we get back to that? And then also, how do we build in incentives from the agency to have individuals that come in to do business adhere to that and hire the youth as well?
I could speak from my perspective, but maybe Ruth Ann wants to address that.
Say your question again, James. You're saying, how do we make sure that we're addressing both sort of workforce, housing, and jobs? Like making sure local people are getting jobs, or did I miss part of your question?
How are we building in more incentives for people who are looking for assistance in contracts to be able to provide more jobs, or go more from a land use plan back to more of a city planning model? Land use, you do the zoning and everything based on what you would like it to look like. So you go out, you talk to your neighbors, the counties, they say, okay, we're gonna zone it this way. City planning model, you can only put the businesses that you want for that particular model in that area to actually build a community. So how do we get back more towards that?
So I guess I would say, zooming out, I'm not sure I understand the distinction, but I'm just not as familiar with those two terms. But I guess I would say we are, separate from the work that's going on at the boards here, are running a pro-housing communities program where we're providing technical assistance grants to localities to undertake zoning studies, look at municipally owned land, look at, doing environmental if they need to do it for an EIS, hire consultants that communities need in order to be able to undertake planning at the local level. So we are providing at the state, assistance to localities that are, so that they can pay for those things, right? Because most localities, lots of them only have a part-time planner, if that. And so they're not really able to undertake that kind of sort of comprehensive planning, I think, like you're talking about. But we put $5 million in the budget last year, and I suspect it will come last year. And then I suspect going into next year, we may be looking at that again to get more resources out to localities so they can be doing that kind of work.
Yeah, I would also say that the governor was really the leader in trying to pass housing legislation that revisited zoning, that loosened it up so that you could do more downtown development, transit-oriented development, to get at what you're saying, more neighborhood. When she first put that out, it didn't pass, but you've seen other states now all go towards that, and it just like opened the door to, this is something important to do. And now you're starting to see it happen more and more in New York. But Florida leaned in, DeSantis adopted it. I mean, it was pretty remarkable because she had the courage to say this is important. And, you know, we're a home rule state, right? So you got to get to the local level and get those approvals. And that makes it very challenging. But she took a bold stance against that, which I think really was transformative, not just here, but across the country. I don't know, Ruth Ann, if you agree with that or not.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, obviously, when we came out with the compact a couple of years ago, it was really leaning into this idea around encouraging localities to look at their zoning to allow for more housing. So I think she very much has started that conversation, and then we've been back year over year in the budget, you know, to your point, like learning from other cities and other states and hoping that they're following our lead where it makes sense. I think the SEQA reforms that passed this year in the budget are an example of sort of the state getting out of the way for localities to be able to get housing built, whether it's, you know, individual rezonings or citywide or townwide rezonings. Certainly the governor is very focused on housing supply and the sort of all the related planning and zoning that goes along with that.
But I'd also say that the needs for housing stock have also changed and are changing in different communities and are not at all homogenous, right? And so, you know, for example, some of the work I'm doing in the southern tier in the Catskills indicates that, for example, the housing stock need and the master planning that should take place focuses on demographics of workforce, you know, what workforce, but really workforce between sort of post-college to like early 30s, but then also there's an oversizing of units in existing housing stock for seniors. So how do you actually transition folks in right-sized units? So master planning in some communities is about, you know, pocket communities for seniors or senior ownership structures that can exist in some of these communities. And so I think it's the whole point is like different parts of this New York State, the challenge is it's like we have rural, we have urban, we have the most expensive like New York City. So the master planning concept that we see in other parts of the world are really hard because of how difficult and diverse the housing needs are in various communities across the state. But I think to Sadie's point and to Ruth Ann's point, like the pro-housing community work is really, you know, in a lot of the conversations that I've been in, is really changing the dialogue because I think it can also support a lot of the like infrastructure needs and other sort of, a building can't just appear and we think about what we fund. We're dramatically changing the landscape of some of these communities in terms of infrastructure needs and electricity and water and sewer and all these other things. So there are all these other considerations and resources that go along with dropping a building. So I think the approach that the state and this agency has taken and thinking about the sort of holistic community planning, even the downtown revitalization stuff that sits alongside some of the housing stuff is an integral part of helping these communities think beyond just one property, but really as to what their needs are. So, yeah. Okay.
The last thing is, like, well, my question for you. In a lot of this reconstruction and revitalization, is anyone reaching out to individuals who have been on the list for not maintaining their buildings and being in compliance with New York State rules as far as landlords? Are any of them taking any advantage on improving their housing and their business stock from New York State with these funds that are available?
Not to my knowledge.
Wait, sorry, what are you asking? Are people on what list?
the bad housing, bad landlord list. Are they
That the
actually
city
taking
giving
advantage
a-
of any of these funds?
No, I mean, we certainly, for anyone who is coming through HFA or HTFC for financing from the agencies, go through a background check. So if anybody that has violations on their buildings, certainly we aren't lending to anyone who's on any sort of bad. I think maybe you mean the city has a landlord list that they publish, or the public advocate, I think, does it. Our borrowers have to clear violations and can't have buildings that are, have major code violations in the, whether it's in the city of New York or other municipalities, and still borrow from us unless it's part of some comprehensive plan, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, because I know of in the last 2 years, I only know of like one borrower who came in who's had multiple complaints as a landlord, but they were asking for funds to actually upgrade the building to make it better for the residents. So that's what I'm asking is like, is anybody reaching out to those individuals to improve their housing stock to make things better?
I mean, I think in general, bar owners that are on like the city's worst landlord list are not people that we are probably, I mean, I think they're on there for reasons that go beyond probably the scope of this conversation. So we are not doing outreach to those people, I think, to have them be borrowers of ours, but that's, maybe I would just leave that at that.
There are other mechanisms.
What item are we on again? I apologize. What item are we on?
Yeah, thank you. We're on item 23, and we should really call the question and move forward. Farhana?
Right, okay. Now before the HFA, HTFC, and SONYMA boards, in addition to the HFA Program and Finance Committee and the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee, are resolutions transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolutions are adopted, and note for the record that the chairman has recused from this item.
Item 24, Brookfield Commons Phase 3, City of White Plains, Westchester County. And I believe Michelle Canizio is joining the group. Welcome. Okay.
Yeah, good afternoon.
This project is a part of the expansion of the White Plains Housing Authority's affordable housing portfolio called the Brookfield Commons Redevelopment Plan. Overall, the redevelopment plan is the demolition of 5 towers or 450 units that previously made up the wind construction of apartments that will eventually create up to 795 units, which is an increase of 345 units. The project is being completed in 6 phases to ensure that existing residents are not involuntarily displaced or relocated outside the campus. Phase 1 and 2, or a total of 232 apartments, were both financed by HFA and closed in 2013 and 2019. This project, Brookfield Commons 3, is the new construction of 168 units, 11-story building serving incomes at 30 to 90% AMI. The building is being designed to passive house standards and includes several amenities, including a fitness center, landscape rooftop, game room, and bike room. The project also includes ground floor community space for youth arts programming. The city and the county have been supportive of this redevelopment. The city of White Plains is funding $2.7 million toward the project, and Westchester County's Housing Flex Fund is providing $11.8 million. That concludes the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. Mike, is there something for you here?
Yes. Thank you. The insured loan amount is $111,000 per unit, which equals 12% of the project's total development cost of $954,000 per unit. The project will break even with an 11% pro forma vacancy loss or an 11% increase in operating expenses.
Thank you. Questions?
Okay. Now before the HFA and SONYMA boards, the HFA Program and Finance Committee and the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee are resolutions transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolutions are adopted.
Thank you. Item 28, West Brighton Avenue infill block by block homeownership program. And Madeline Fletcher is here today to present this item. Hi, Madeline.
Hi, everybody. Hello. Hi, Madeline. Okay. So, do I have to talk into this microphone? Okay.
This is a pretty straightforward project for our Block by Block program from the Syracuse's Habitat for Humanity office. They are going to use, as said, block by block, which makes up to $300,000 available per unit for single family, $400,000 unit for 2-family homes, available for new construction that offers even deeper affordability than our AHOP program. So it goes down to a 60% AMI affordability level. Syracuse Habitat has proposed to use $2.1 million in funding in block by block, alongside also $52,500 in our new Green Small Buildings program, which is making funds available for heat pumps. They will build 7 new homes in the South Side neighborhood. The lots are being sold to Habitat by the Syracuse Land Bank, and the homes will be modular construction from a company that builds the boxes in Pennsylvania. Habitat will be their own GC and coordinate all of the site work. They've also secured $500,000 in unsecured loan funding from Habitat New York City's Community Fund, which will be repaid through sale proceeds. I just lost my notes. The program limits pricing to 60% AMI, but we offer a little bit of a marketing ban. However, here they're really seeking to serve lower income households in Syracuse. So they'll be capping incomes at 60% AMI. The pricing will be between $115,000 and $130,000 per home, and that reflects about almost a 25% discount to market. And when you look sort of in neighborhoods surrounding, it's even more significant. Pricing in Syracuse has been rising sharply, and Habitat is really trying to continue to provide affordable homeownership opportunities. They've secured home funding from the city, and they are also able to offer down payment assistance where necessary to help support some healthy debt to income ratios. We've seen some really great projects popping up in homeownership across Syracuse, and we're really happy to offer this will be our second block by block project to the mix to keep broadening the offerings in Syracuse. Happy to answer your questions.
Thanks, Madeline.
Thanks. Yes.
Thank you for the presentation. One of the things that, in projects like this, for example, what can be done or is being done to make sure that there is, how's the best way I could put it, a useful diversity in terms of who actually participates in the program? One can see how it could be 9 to 1, 9 white buyers to every 1 buyer who's not white, or something more equitable, one might imagine. Is any thought been given to that, and
Sure.
How are they doing that?
Sure. So all of the homeownership programs, like all of the programs at the agency, have to follow all the affirmative fair housing marketing plan processes. So there's affirmative outreach to all least likely to apply populations in the neighborhood, in the city, and then sort of in the surrounding, so in the county surrounding. And so they have to do a lot of targeted outreach to ensure that people apply and then enter sort of Habitat's process for home buying, equity, sweat equity provisions and all of that. I couldn't say for sure that they're sort of setting specific targets, but they are doing that outreach and providing support to make sure people are able to take advantage.
The outreach efforts to which you refer have been around for a while, right? And yet we still have this fairly striking disparity in place. Is anything being done about that, or is we just going to keep trying to see if we'll get different results doing the same thing over and over?
I don't think I could really answer that question for this project specifically.
Who can answer that question then?
Do you know, Madeline, of
I'm
the
sorry?
AHOP? I just want to ask, because we finance a lot of this, what the composition of the buyers are from like the AHOP program or something? Do you know how many minority buyers there are?
I do not know offhand, but it's certainly data that we could provide. We don't generally ask specifically in our terms, but yeah.
My experience with homeownership in neighborhoods like this neighborhood in Syracuse is that most of the buyers are buyers of color because that's who's in those communities. So it gives them an opportunity to own a home where they otherwise would have no opportunity at all. So, but I think it would be interesting if you can get that data, because I think affirmative action, or the affirmative fair housing is one thing, but you're right. I mean, if you keep doing the same thing, but this is not attracting white buyers from outside neighborhoods to come into these communities. It's really there for the people in these communities, so.
Why would it not be attracting people from outside the community if the price is right?
It may. I just think it's important to see what the data actually says, if we can get it.
Yeah, because I mean, the story is literally nationwide that a community might be non-white, but then because of the pricing or this, that, and the other, all of a sudden it switches.
Understood.
So I'm not persuaded just because there is a significant non-white community there now.
No, I understand
This
what you're
program
saying.
will necessarily result in that kind of situation 5 years from now.
Understood.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know for, no, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
So B from Syracuse, you guys are like helping me relive my life. 236 Brighton was my address when I graduated high school in Syracuse, New York. So you kind of get a little sense of my background now, right? But this neighborhood, all of the new housing that's gone up in around this neighborhood has not done what you're assuming. It has remained a minority neighborhood and a minority community. So the home ownership, to 90% of it has gone to people who were already in the neighborhood. And to be honest with you, I don't really see that changing. But there are a couple hundred new homes in this area, surrounding this area, and that has not happened yet. So I don't think just gentrification will happen here.
So,
I mean, to the
so,
extent it's
so to
available.
hear, and thank you for that insight. But clearly, what we've seen over the last, you pick a number, 20 years, 30 years, is even communities that have been predominantly non-white flip over time because of programs just the type that we're talking about now, or just because of income disparities or whatever it may be. I lived in Harlem I was born there, lived there for many years. I don't live there anymore because I can't afford it. Okay, and so this is true for a lot of people, and it's no longer a black community by any means, and so I don't know what it is that I'm not suggesting that you can.
The major issue with so the city of Syracuse is predominantly a city of color. Most people don't realize that, right? Second is, white families do not want their children in our school district. That's just the point blank truth of it, which is probably the biggest barrier to the gentrification of the city of Syracuse, okay? Where there has been gentrification has been in the downtown community, and those are not families with children.
Interesting. Okay.
It's always a barrier.
Okay.
Okay.
Two quick things. Number one, do we know when this contract was originated? The request was originated?
For this particular project?
Yes.
I'm 6 to 10 months ago, something like that.
6 to 10 months ago? Okay. The other part of that is, why a modular company from Pennsylvania, not New York?
Good question.
We don't have them.
We don't have them in New York.
There's limited options for sure, which we hope will change.
Right?
In fact, the vast majority of the modular projects that get done in New York State are produced in fact, the region are produced in Pennsylvania. And that's,
Canada.
and in fact, there's actually been a call I was on a call with ESD because they're working obviously, and then this agency as well, and CBC on what's going on with Syracuse, but the increased demand for housing in the state, and this, I think what's interesting, that I was just looking at the catalog of Icon Legacy and what they selected, and whether this continues to be a utilized manufacturer within the block by block program.
Yeah, I think this is actually the first one that we're seeing with this particular manufacturer.
But to your point, this is actually a jobs question for New York State, because we need to be investing in the housing industry if we want to meet the demand, the supply side problems we're having. To meet that demand side, we need to invest in the housing industry. And obviously, I think Sadie and I have seen some really interesting housing that comes in at significantly lower. We look at the move-in at the $250,000 a unit, and that we're going to be awarding later. And it just shows that the industrialization of housing is here. It's been done around the world, and it's a thing that a lot of folks are focused on.
Yeah,
Okay.
one of the more exciting things about move-in
We
is
need
that
to-
some of the homes are being manufactured.
We need to
so-
keep moving.
Yep.
Okay.
Farhana.
Now, before the HFA board is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution is adopted.
All right, so while Madeline is here, we're going to skip ahead to item 31, which is Move in New York, City of Buffalo, Niagara Falls, NHS. Madeline is covering for Aaron Chilowich. Madeline.
Hi. Okay. So this is 2 additional awards under our move-in program. This month, the awards are $12.1 million to the City of Buffalo to build and sell 40 cross-mod homes, and $8.47 million to the Niagara Falls Neighborhood Housing Services Organization to build and sell 28 cross-mod homes in the City of Niagara Falls. As with all the prior awards, HTFC will enter into a partially forgivable loan agreement that will cover 100% of site work, construction, unit delivery costs. On most of the projects, we are anticipating an all-in cost, inclusive of soft costs, of about $275,000 per unit. We're building in a little bit of a contingency just for anything unforeseen. The awardees will in turn contract with our cross-mod producers that are on our agency's pre-qualified list. So the City of Buffalo sites are vacant lots concentrated in a few square blocks in the east side neighborhood of Maston Park. They've suffered sort of decades of disinvestment, deindustrialization, and everything that's sort of associated. The city is very excited to use this program to really quickly implement some large-scale change on these blocks and repair some of the street wall. Niagara Falls NHS has been working really closely with the City of Niagara Falls to identify appropriate vacant lots for this project. Notable here is that NHS is going to, while they're undertaking 28 homes, they are going to themselves GC 3 of the homes rather than sort of handing all that off to the producers so that they can actually figure out how to GC themselves, because they're hoping that they don't necessarily need move-in if they can do it as affordably as they think. So we're excited about sort of that capacity building piece here. The units across the program all will be sold between 60 and 130% of area median income, depending on each market, the community's goals, who they want to serve, and all of the homes will have at least a 10-year affordability period. So again, we're happy to add these 2 projects to our growing list. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you.
I did actually have, interesting to your point on the NHS and that sort of, there was questions that came to me about whether, this is obviously bringing down the cost of housing production for a lot of folks, and there are municipalities that want access to it, but may say, like, we actually don't need the money. We just need access to the state's purchasing power. And is that something that the state would be made available to communities? Is like for communities that had their own ability to finance it, could they piggyback and work with the state on leveraging the purchasing power and the demand aggregation that you guys are doing already through the program?
I think that nothing would preclude them from reaching out to either of the 2 sort of groups that have been, put onto our two organization list and talk through that. I think, right, the real benefit is because of the ability to bring lots of houses to a relatively finite area. But, maybe in the future, there's a conversation about sort of how we help, and how we provide a little technical assistance, a little bit of coordination to groups who could really do it without subsidy, right? Because that's sort of the end goal is this actually is a solution, right? Exactly. And we prove the concept, right, as part of this.
Discussing developing their own down payment assistance program for something like this.
Great.
Where if you guys were ordering the housing, they could support doing
Right.
small dollar down payment assistance that would help people get into some of these homes or put in the deposits with those factories and things like
Right,
that. So,
absolutely.
okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So James,
That would be
I
cool.
would just add, the only thing I would add, Madeline, because you didn't give yourself credit for this, that actually the thing we did by procuring the producers was in fact sort of delivering that for the localities, right? Like we did a procurement process statewide that they're now all piggybacking on.
Okay.
And I think to your question about cost, and Madeline, I don't know if how much we want to sort of say this, but half or more of the cost of these homes is actually related to the site work. It's not the cost of the house. So even if we got the cost of the house down, the majority, I mean, kind of the cost.
Yeah.
So, and we can't solve for that site work in a like bulk purchase sort of way. So I think we're doing the bulk purchase part on the actual house.
Right.
And the cost.
That's right. I mean, we saw it in the Hamptons, right? The ones that were
Yeah.
cited at 400,000 plus.
Yep.
And to your point versus the 275.
Right, exactly.
So much of the is in the siting or the
That's
sanitary, like
something we
the
can't
water and
really
sewer
control.
and the infrastructure. Yeah.
Exactly.
But those communities can just apply to a future round of Move in New York.
They certainly could, yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I will note for the record that Ms. Young Watkins will recuse from this item. Now, before the HTFC board is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution is adopted.
Thank you, Madeline, very much. Okay, we're going to go back to our agenda in order. Item 29, 88 Academy Street, City of Poughkeepsie, Dutchess County Small Building Participation Loan Program. And for this item, Burke Blackman, Assistant Vice President, Small Mid-Sized Development, will present the item.
Good afternoon, everyone. So 88 Academy, the smallest of small buildings here. This is a request for $750,000 in small building program subsidy for the moderate rehab of a mostly vacant 5-unit Second Empire style walk-up building in Poughkeepsie's Academy Street Historic District, just south of their downtown area. The project will preserve 5 apartments, a mix of studios and 1 and 2 bedrooms, all affordable at no more than 80% AMI. Heat and hot water will be included in tenant rent, and amenities will include common laundry and off-street parking for 2 cars. This is a smaller developer, Indero LLC, based in New York City. They're new to the agency, but they've completed several smaller projects in the city and in Dutchess County, including the rehab of a mixed-use building in Beacon. The entity is led by siblings Lauren DeBellis Aviv and Frank DeBellis. Mr. DeBellis is a full-time real estate investor with experience in construction management and building operations, while Ms. DeBellis Aviv is a successful attorney who co-invests in their shared portfolio. They purchased the subject property mostly vacant in 2023 and began preparations for the proposed rehab, which will consist of new windows and siding, roof repair, restoration of exterior historic details, reconfiguration of 2 apartments, and full updating of unit interiors. One of the units is currently occupied by a long-term tenant who will be relocated temporarily during construction. Upon completion, rent for this unit will be maintained at its current level, well below market, while the 4 vacant units will have initial rents ranging from 74 to 78% AMI. The project is well located. It's about 1/3 of a mile from Poughkeepsie's primary commercial corridor along Main Street, so the central branch of the public library, 2 city parks, and the historic Bardavon Theater are all within a 10-minute walk. Dutchess County bus service is also available 2 blocks from the property. In addition to the small building subsidy, permanent financing here will include a SONYMA insured loan from CPC of about $458,000, as well as owner equity. And during construction, the small building subsidy will participate in a construction loan that's led by CPC as per the structure of this program, participation loan program. So in summary, this will be our 6th small building project in Poughkeepsie and our 5th project overall of this size, the 5 to 9 unit range, which is important for a community revitalization, even though the unit count is smaller. It's going to return a prominent, mostly vacant building at the gateway of the historic district to full use, and we're happy to recommend it for funding. I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Burke. Questions? Farhana?
Okay. Now before the HFA board is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item, and I will note for the record that Ms. McEwen is recusing from this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution is adopted.
Thank you. Item 30, Rural and Neighborhood Preservation Program Awards. Crystal Loeffler, President, Office of Community Renewal, will present this item. Crystal?
Good afternoon. 27.3 million was allocated this year for the neighborhood and rural preservation programs. These are annual programs that have been funded for decades and provide administrative funding to support a network of housing and community development non-for-profits. We refer to them as rural and neighborhood preservation companies. The Office of Community Renewal is requesting board approval to award these funds and enter into grant agreements with up to 64 rural preservation companies, 130 neighborhood preservation companies, and the 2 associated coalitions. Full details are included in the memo, and I'm happy to answer any questions from the board.
Thanks, Crystal. Questions?
Okay. Now before the HTFC board.
Quick question. Does this how often is this list updated?
Every year, right?
So the way this program works is it's basically an existing cohort of participating non-for-profits. There are statutory requirements for what makes an eligible rural or neighborhood preservation company. We open up a notice of funding opportunity to add, or notice of funding opportunity to add new organizations to the program as other organizations drop out. So there's generally an annual funding opportunity for a few new groups to join, but it's not a wide open call every year for a new pool of organizations.
So it's only if they drop out.
Correct. I think the intent is to try to keep the funding stable for the organizations that rely on this for their staffing levels.
That's a problem. And the reason I say it's a problem is, like in Suffolk County, the funding goes through the county, which then goes into the town organizations to go out to the not-for-profits for the ones that I work with.
This doesn't go through the county. These are specifically.
No, I'm using that as an example of the grants that they were doing with the downtown revitalization and block grants and stuff, and things that come from like Suffolk County. It's the same thing. If a new person wants to get in to get funding for projects, they can't get it unless an old company drops out. So it should be open to anyone that qualifies so that the money moves to different companies instead of that set group that's already been put into this list. That's what I'm saying. Because it eliminates anybody new coming in to do anything different.
Like I said, there generally has been turnover or attrition in the program that has opened opportunities for new organizations to join. But I will say in the past several cycles, there have been 3 or 4 openings for neighborhood preservation companies to join, and neighborhood preservation companies are the ones that serve urban areas throughout the state. And we haven't even had 4 applications for 4 new organizations to join. So despite marketing the availability of openings, there aren't necessarily additional non-for-profit organizations that meet the statutory requirements to join the program.
This is a very sort of statutory specific program, this one.
No, I understand. But it's like when I was running a not-for-profit, I had applied for a downtown block grant. The requirement was an initial phase, you put your application in, it was like 1.5 inches thick. They approved it, but then they turn around and says, no, you got to make additions to it. The next year, they said you got to have $25,000 in liquidable assets. Otherwise, you can't use the money. Then it went to working through the county. It was the same thing. Your community is already getting money, so we can't give you any additional money. But the organization that was doing work in the community wasn't doing anything in the community. They were pocketing the money. So that's why I was saying it's an issue when you got a list of 20 groups or 50 groups and you're only using those 50 groups, you may not have new participation because they know they can't get in. See what I'm saying?
I mean, the list remains relatively static year to year, but like I said, we have openings nearly every year for new groups to join, and I'm suggesting that demand has not surpassed availability of these openings. So they are true openings for new organizations to join the program when we release this opportunity. I don't think it's necessarily a barrier suggesting that an existing list of organizations continue to participate.
Which authority is this in front of again? Sorry.
HTFC.
This is in front of the HTFC.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we need to move on.
Okay, now before the HTFC board is a resolution.
Oh, excuse me, just with respect to the point that was raised, I mean, is that it? I mean, we'll have some further, not this moment, but at least going forward, the issues that are just being raised, hopefully we're not having the very same conversation 12 months from now. And so for that part of the organization that's dealing with this, could it at least look into the concerns that are being raised? Because if it's the same thing every year, over and over and over, then maybe something different can be done. Now, we can't do it on this particular motion. I understand that, and I don't want to take up any more time than is necessary, but at least we could have some basic commitment that this matter will be looked into over the next quarter or so to see if there's some way that we can have something that looks like real diversity as opposed to make-believe diversity going forward with this kind of a program. You know, this is, I was just doing, my math is never that great, but it's been over 40 years that we've been having this kind of program going forward. And somehow, magically, 40 years later, we're still not seeing, participation by certainly minority programs in a number of these situations here. So could we at least have an understanding that we could have some further conversation past today? I don't want to hold up any more time, but that's why we're here. Could we at least have some further discussion on this at a subsequent meeting in the near future? Okay, the silence is deafening, but
I'm not.
I'm happy to jump in on this. Look, the MPC-RPC program is a very, sorry, Chris, I don't mean to cut you off. It's a very heavy statutorily prescribed program of what an MPC is and what an RPC is. You don't really, this separate from, I think, your comment about the DRIs, and as Crystal said, NPCs can apply when there's vacancies, as can RPCs. Sometimes we get them. This is not something that we as an agency control. And Crystal, but correct me, but I think the MPC-RPC has been, as you had said, has been fairly consistent as a funding source, which is the legislature's intent in this program. This is a legislature program. It's not sort of I would say like sort of an HCR derived program. It's a legislatively created and passed program. So I think if your question is, can we do something? I think the question is probably for the legislature more than it may be for us if there's some desire to sort of change the nature of the NPC-RPC program. So I don't want you to take the silence as if we aren't actively doing something. This is just among the various things the HTFC does. This is not one that we have an enormous amount of control over.
But we do monitor the way they perform under these contracts to know that they're serving the right populations and executing on what they say they're going to do, right? So if we know that, then I appreciate your comment that somebody might be stealing the money or not doing what they're supposed to do. But I know a lot of these organizations, and they're all doing the work that this money is supporting. So it is hard to become one. And these are mostly rural areas where there's not a lot of opportunity beyond the groups that are already there, right? So it is very specifically prescribed, and they are supporting low-income and minority populations.
Right. Not that they would be stealing money, but the thing is it's more the availability as far as having other individuals to come in to be able to do the same work. Because I was going to bring it up afterwards, so that we don't drag it on forward. But I was going to bring it up just to go through the list and see what the performance is, see what the demographics are, see what services they're providing, and see whether or not there are other individuals in those particular areas that want to do something or apply to do it similar. Because just looking in one of the areas in here, I know there's one group that's not represented that would want to be on here. So, and if they're trying to get in, but they have to wait until somebody drops out, they're going to look for other resources, other places, and they're not going to spend the money to come back to it to try and send in an application again.
I have to get going. Does HTFC have a quorum without me, or can we go through things quickly?
Hope is still here, right? I see you, I think. Miss Young Watkins.
Yes, I am. I'm still here.
Do you need to leave soon?
It's okay. Go ahead. I can stay.
Thank you. So yes, if Miss Young Watkins is here, then you can leave.
Okay, I'll stay as long as I can, but just warning so thanks.
Thanks, Jesse. Okay, Farhana.
Okay, now before the HTFC board is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, the motion is carried and the resolution is adopted.
Item 32, 2025, 9% multifamily RFP awards. And Gary Van Wormer, Senior Project Manager, will present this item on behalf of Brett Hebner. Gary.
32, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. In March of 2026, the 2025 9% multifamily awards were made by the Office of Finance and Development. I'm going to list that we're going to present 10 of the 27 projects that were awarded. I'm going to give a brief overview of each. The first of which, and these are going to be ordered by Regional Economic Development Council. For Central New York, Cortlandville Commons in Cortland County, developer Regan Development Corporation. Cortlandville Commons is an affordable multifamily project with 68 dwelling units and a first floor commercial space for children's daycare center. The project is located on New York State Route 13, the town of Cortlandville. Second, we have Jordan Landing in Onondaga County. This is developed by Rockville Development LLC and Rock Property Management Company. Jordan Landing is a new construction project consisting of 9 buildings with 65 mixed income housing units located in the village of Jordan. The project includes 8 2-story townhouse buildings and 1 2-story multifamily buildings. Moving to the Finger Lakes, we have Midville Commons Phase 2, developed by Pathstone Development Corporation. Midville Commons Phase 2 is a new construction of 28 apartments for seniors age 62 plus. This will be 8 1-story bungalow-style buildings at 2770 Baird Road in the town of Parenton. For the Long Island region, we have Dogwood Terrace, developed by Georgica Green Ventures, LLC. The project is the redevelopment of Dogwood Terrace, an existing senior federal public housing complex located at 1170 to 1182 Martha Place in Franklin Square, town of Hempstead, Nassau County. This is going to be the replacement of 104 one-bedroom units. The new building will be a 62-plus senior community. For Mohawk Valley, we have Rockton Plaza new construction. This is developed by the Little Falls Housing Authority, located in the city of Little Falls. Rockton Plaza is the construction of a 4-story, 44-unit building on vacant land owned by the Little Falls Housing Authority. All 44 one-bedroom apartments will target seniors 55 plus. We also have Columbia Square Apartments, Oneida County, developed by DePaul Properties Incorporated. Columbia Square Apartments is a new 66-unit affordable multifamily development with integrated supportive housing in the Columbia Square neighborhood in the city of Utica, Oneida County. The project site will include 2 new residential buildings and will provide 33 units of integrated supportive housing for adults with serious mental illness. This project includes 28 units under the Empire State Supported Housing Initiative and 5 units under the Office of Mental Health Supported Single Room Occupancy Program. For the New York City region, 1848 Vice in Bronx County. This project will consist of one 11-story new construction building of approximately 90,000 square feet in an L-shaped configuration on both Vice Avenue and East 176th Street. It will provide 119 residential units, which includes the superintendent units. 72 units of project-based rental assistance will be provided by the New York City 1515 program. For the North Country, Fireman's Field Apartments, Essex County, developed by Regan Development Corporation, located in the town of Ticonderoga. This project will be a new construction multifamily mixed-use building with 60 units consisting of 41 bedroom apartments and 22 bedroom apartments. This will include 12 units of supported services and operating funding under the ESHI program for people who are suffering from homelessness with serious mental illness. The first floor of the project will also include a commercial space for a children's daycare facility. For Western New York, McCoy Young Commons, developed by Belmont Housing Resources for Western New York. This project consists of two parcels located across the street from one another, one at 657 Clinton Street and the other at 18 McAdams Street. A 40-unit, three-story apartment building will be located on Clinton Street north of the McCoy Convention Center with 9 townhomes that will sit across the street on the west side of Adams Street. And finally, Sanborn Square in Niagara County. This is developed by Park Grove Development, LLC, located at 2835 Sounders Settlement Road in the town of Lewiston. This project will be a new multifamily apartment community that will consist of 50 units with 12 one-bedrooms, 26 two-bedrooms, and 12 three-bedrooms, and 5 10-unit building configurations.
Thank you, Gary.
You're welcome.
Okay, if there are no questions, now before the HTFC board is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item.
Yes, were there any questions?
If there are no questions, please, yeah.
Yeah, just very quickly, I understand that the organizations that you mentioned was just part of the overall group of entities that are being financed, correct? Hello?
These are HTFC awards.
Yeah, okay, and of those, is there any way for us to get an understanding of which ones wind up serving communities of non-white communities throughout the state of New York? Obviously, some of them, just by virtue of their geographic location, I'm guessing probably don't. But even if it's in the middle of New York City, that doesn't necessarily tell us anything one way or the other. Just with the, we're not asking you to go through all 45 right now, but of the 9 that you mentioned, do we see some engagement with respect to communities of color in terms of the type of financing that we're talking about here?
That would be, we'd have to look that information up for you. We don't have that offhand.
Really? Okay. Yeah, well, we definitely would like, you know, and just going forward, I don't think that's a lot to ask in 2020, where are we now, 2026? You know, for that kind of information to be part of what we're looking at as board members and representing the communities that have a real interest in what goes on here. And so we don't have any idea one way or the other, as what you're saying now. Could we at least have some idea by the time we meet again at our next board meeting, please?
Hi, it's Ruth Ann. I'm sorry. Gary is stepping in for Brett, who is also would be stepping in for Alexa, both of whom are at the Shinny conference this afternoon. So when we moved the board meeting to this afternoon, neither of them could be here to present. So I just want to give Gary a little space here that he's sort of pinch hitting for the team. Happy to, obviously, most of the nonprofits that we work with who are developing these projects are working in low-income communities that by extension are mostly by definition minority communities. Happy to come back to you with a little more data on that at next month's meeting. Thanks.
Okay, I would just like to, hopefully that could be just a part of what we do going forward. So thank you.
Farhana.
Yes.
Okay.
So now before the HTFC board is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution is adopted.
Item 33, Long Island Investment Fund Award from Empire State Development. Gary?
Yes.
And sorry, before we move on, I meant to mention that the chairman and Ms. Young Watkins recused from item number 32.
Gary?
Thank you. This item is the sub-allocation of Empire State Development funds in the amount of $3 million for Port Jefferson Commons in Long Island. This was previously approved by the board in September of 2025.
Thanks, Gary. Questions?
Can you tell us in, just a couple of sentences what we're looking at in terms of the
I
type of?
apologize, I have to go.
Okay.
Well, if you have to go, okay.
And I see Ms. Young Watkins is still here, so we should be good on quorum.
Thanks,
Thanks
Jesse.
for letting us know.
Sorry, Gary, go ahead.
So these funds were granted to the project, Port Jefferson Commons in Suffolk County, as part of the development there. They came in after we had already authorized, the board had already authorized the 2024 award to this project. So it's just HTFC administering these funds from ESD.
Okay, so do we see minority contractors? Do we see minority individuals benefiting from the type of housing that ultimately results from this? Or is it too early to tell?
No,
but you're saying that this has been a relationship over years. So what are we looking at?
All of these funds will have MWBE and equal employment opportunity goals that are associated per the HTFC guidelines.
And the results of that have been?
Results of the
understanding-
MBBE program? Is that what you're asking?
I think so.
I mean, we've had a report earlier for HTFC, right? Reported on the overall Malini, and then we provide that information separately on our overall goal attainment. So it's not, obviously there are deal by deal goals, but you see it in the roll up in the reporting that we did. That was item, 20 or whatever item that was.
Okay.
Okay, we need to move on. This is an HTFC item, and I'm sorry, we're going to move on. We're going to move on. Back, please.
Okay, now before the HTFC board is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution is adopted.
You're not a voting member, actually.
Not allowed to say.
You can abstain all you want. You're not a voting
So I'll
member.
be quiet. Okay.
There you
Fine.
go.
We'll come back to it.
Item 34, contract extension for AKRF Incorporated for environmental services. And Rachel Weeder, Deputy Commissioner, Office of Resilient Homes and Communities, will present this item.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Rachel. Thank you.
Hi, this AKRF is a firm that we procured in 2018 at the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery, now known as Office of Resilient Homes and Communities. They provide environmental services for our projects, and we are asking for an extension of time to their contract until the end of March next year. We do not need to add any money to the contract, we just need more time. They do a compliance piece for the NEPA review of our federal projects at the beginning and at the end of construction before we close out a project. Construction on some of the last Sandy projects will be wrapping up in this time period, and so we sort of need to keep them around to make sure that we can close out the files in a compliant manner. I'm happy to take any questions about the contract.
Okay. Now before the HTFC board is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution is adopted.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Okay, we're going to defer items 35, 36, and 37. So items 45 to 55 are information items. There will be no presentation. I'd like a motion to adjourn the meetings.
Before that, two very quick things. One, I'd like to make a motion for an amendment because we're always updating our board books. So one amendment that I'd like to have is the origination date provided as well. So when we do these different projects, the date that they actually originated, if we can have that added to the board books, I think
Can I ask
that
what
would
you
be
mean? What do you mean by origination? That's not like a formal term. What is that?
like when they put in the application or they requested funding.
The date that someone put in an application, okay.
Yep, or requested funding. When the project
Yeah,
began.
I mean, often like the stuff that Gary was just reporting, it's part of like our fall 2023 RFP. So it is, I think in many of the board materials, it'll say like the funding is a result of a process that happened where there is a process. So if we're not including that, we can look for it.
Yep, very simple addition. Would be very much appreciated.
Okay.
Then the other thing is, like Professor Ford was saying, even though he's not on the HTFC board, just like B, I live close to that area, not too far away from it, so I'm familiar with that project. So when he was asking about whether or not it benefits individuals in that area who may be of color or not of color or different things, this was a project that came up last year. I'm familiar with it, and it doesn't, as far as the trades, benefit individuals of color. So these projects, I think we should take that into consideration, because just like there was a project in Quorum when I first came onto the board, I wasn't a part of that particular group, but I knew that they had violated a lot of the terms of the agency, and they were actually sanctioned quite a bit of money because they had falsified documents that came into the agency, but the agency wouldn't have known that had I not said anything. So even though we're not on some of these particular boards, we do add some information to it because we're familiar with the companies and the political groups, not-for-profits and other things. So I understand we're overwhelmed. We're only here once a month, and we have like 50 items on the agenda sometimes. I know we have 750 pages. We used to get 1,400 to 1,500 pages of information. I know people want to get out of here, but that's a part of the problem too, is that we're trying to jam so much into one meeting that we're not able to express ourselves on a lot of these other levels as well. So I think that should be taken into consideration.
Point taken. Rahana?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Freeman. We will now take the legal steps to adjourn the meetings. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor for adjourning, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the meetings are adjourned. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
A doctor's appointment, so I have to go.
Yeah.
So how do you?
I gotta get out of here too, but I gotta wait for this train.
Did we adjourn?
Yes.
Yeah, we're adjourned.
Pretty low key.